in the last few weeks, even months, to prepare for this course, for this weekend. Thank you for this tradition that we come here to study from, to rely on, to get inspiration from. The Buddhist path that is coming to us from far away, thousands of kilometers away from here, from North India, 2,500 years. And this tradition has traveled all the way until here. And this is because of the devoted practice of countless practitioners during this time. Thank you for that. And we can end with thanking ourselves for the effort we've done, overcoming all the challenges and difficulties, traveling all the way to come here. There's nothing taken for granted, and even being interested in doing a weekend on death. So we can really be happy and proud that we've done the effort and we are here. So all these conditions had to come together for this moment to happen just now. And we can finish this meditation with the intention to make the most from the time we are here, to really open our mind and open our heart, to allow things to go in, maybe to open ourselves to see life as a whole, including the end of it. Want to say hello? You want to say hello? Thank you, Anila. Okay. So, hi again, everyone. We're starting now. Hi also to, we have, I don't know, how many people we have here? Oh, wait, 50, 60, 61? 61. So we have 61 people here in the room, but we have few more people, I don't know, how many? 80 more people in that small camera there, joining us online. So hi to everyone. And we'll start with a short talk, just explaining how we'll go about this weekend from our manager. And after we solve all these issues, I will start with Anila's and my own opening talk. We'll start to figure out what we're doing here and why we came. So we start with Orit. Orit, you want to come? Come here.
טוב, אתה תוסיף בגללך. טוב, שלום לכולם, אני אורית ואני הכתובת שלכם לכל בעיה שתהיה לכם במהלך הסוף שבוע הזה. עכשיו בגלל שאנחנו בשתיקה, שבועז יסביר עליה אולי יותר בהרחבה אחר כך, אז התקשורת איתי או עם המורים בנושאים שקשורים לדרמה תהיה רק בפתקים. יש פתקים מאחורה על השולחן, יש שם עטים, כל אחד שכותב פתק, בגלל שאני לא מכירה את כולכם, תכתבו בבקשה שם מלא ומספר חדר, כדי שיהיה לי קל לתקשר איתכם בחזרה. אז או למורים או לי יש שם סלסלה, ופשוט לכתוב פתק, לקפל אותו, לכתוב מאחורה שם מלא ומספר חדר, ולהשאיר בסלסלה, אנחנו נגיב בהקדם וכמיטב יכולתנו לפניות שלכם. אתם מחולקים לשני בניינים, אתם ישנים בשני בניינים, זה נקרא גסט האוס, הבית הערכה, והבניין השני נקרא הבניין הראשי. אנחנו צריכים אתכם לפעמים בשתי קבוצות, אז נעשה את החלוקה פשוט לפי הבניינים שבהם אתם ישנים, זה יהיה הכי פשוט. אז גם תהיה לפעמים הליכה מדורגת לארוחות, כי אנחנו המון אנשים ואנחנו רוצים לדרג את העומס במטבח. אז בועז יגיד מי הולך ראשון ומי הולך שני, או הבניין הראשי או הגסט האוס, ולפי זה נדרג. את הארוחות ערב, זאת שהבאתם היום מהבית וזאת שמחר אנחנו נכין בשני מטבחים, זה בשני המועדונים, גם הם נמצאים אחד פה למטה ואחד בבניין השני, כל אחד אוכל בהתאם לבניין שבו הוא גר. בסדר? זה ארוחות ערב. בהתאם יש גם שתי פינות קפה, כמובן שכשאנחנו פה במהלך היום כולם יכולים להשתמש בפינת קפה למטה, אבל יש עוד פינת קפה פעילה באותו מקום שתאכלו היום ארוחת ערב, אז אתם מוזמנים להשתמש גם בפינת קפה השנייה. הפינת קפה פה היא פה למטה, פשוט יורדים במדרגות למטה, יש מטבחון, זה הפינת קפה. בבניין השני מקיפים אותו, כאילו זה שביל שממשיך מהשער הראשי של הבניין, ואז מצד שמאל ראשון יש את הפינת קפה, את המטבחון, ובהמשך יש את החדר אוכל, שם אתם תאכלו את הארוחות בוקר וצהריים שהמנזר מכין לנו. לוז, יש לנו לוז ששלחנו לכם במייל, אנחנו נתלה פה בחוץ בכניסה לבניין הזה וגם במטבחון אולי בבניין השני את הלוז, ואז תוכלו לדעת אותו מראש, למרות שכל פעם יגידו לכם לכמה זמן אנחנו יוצאים להפסקה למשל, או מתי הסשן הבא, ככה שלא, זה לא חובה להיות מאוד מאוד מעודכנים על זה מראש. כניסה בבוקר למנזר, יש אנשים פה שישנים בבית, אתם קיבלתם צ'יפים, שמאפשרים לכם לפתוח גם את החנייה וגם את הכניסה למנזר. בבקשה תשמרו עליהם טוב ובעזרתם תיכנסו ותצאו. אם יש איזושהי בעיה, הטלפון שלי זמין כל הזמן. אז אם מישהו נתקע לא יכול להיכנס, יש איזושהי בעיה, אני אזמינה לכם גם בטלפון בשעות הבוקר המוקדמות, כי אתם צריכים להיות פה מחר ב6:30 להתחלת הפעילות.
צ'יפ עובד על ידי זה שמצמידים אותו לאינטרקום. יש גם יד השער של הכניסה וגם השער של החנייה, יש אינטרקום, מצמידים את הצ'יפ, מקסימום תזוזו איתו קצת עד ששומע את זה.
כן, יש מצלמה כזאת ויש ציור של צ'יפ מתחת למצלמה, לזה מצמידים את הצ'יפ. נעליים, בגלל שאנחנו הרבה אנשים ואנחנו רוצים למנוע לחץ שביציאה מהאולם כולם עומדים ונועלים נעליים פה בכניסה, אנחנו מאוד נשמח אם אנשים שישנים בבניין הזה יוכלו להשאיר את הנעליים שלהם בחדר ולבוא בלי נעליים, ואנשים אחרים אם אפשר להשאיר את הנעליים בחוץ בבקשה, בכניסה לבניין זה מאוד יקל על הכניסה והיציאה לאולם הזה. רחיצת כלים אחרי ארוחת ערב, אתם משתמשים בארוחות ערב בכלים שלכם מהבית, עלול להיות קצת עומס במטבחים, אבל אנחנו סומכים על זה שתהיה סבלנות ושיתוף פעולה, או שתרחצו את זה אצלכם בחדר, סך הכל זה היום ומחר, זה לא יותר מדי בלגן. ביקשנו מכם להשתבץ לטבלת תורנויות, יש לנו כל מיני תורנויות שאנחנו צריכים עזרה מכם, זה כולל השכמה בבוקר, יש לנו אחרי השכמה בבניין הזה ואחרי השכמה בבניין השני, זה אומר 5:55 בבוקר לעבור בכל החדרים ולדפוק על הדלתות ולהעיר את כולם בין 5:56 ל-6 בבוקר. יש לנו פעמונאי, זה אנשים שאחראים לעשות גונג בכניסה חזרה לפעילות. יש לנו אנשים שאחראים להכין ארוחת ערב ולפנות אחרי ארוחת ערב, גם כן לפי שני הבניינים. זה התורנויות, אני תכף אבדוק אם מילאו את כל התורנויות, אם לא, אז נבקש עוד קצת עזרה. זה יימצא, הרשימה תהיה עוד פעם על השולחן מאחורה. אני הרשימה תהיה פה על השולחן מאחורה, אז אם מישהו שכח למה הוא ישתבץ, פשוט יהיה אפשר להסתכל על זה, זה יהיה פתוח פה. זהו? 5 דקות לפני סשן צריך לעבור בחוץ ולעשות גונג, גם קצת לכיוון של הבניין ההוא, וגם פה מסביב לבניין ובפנים. הגונג פה, בדרך כלל יהיה פה. הקערה טיבטית תעמוד פה, ואז הפעמונאי בא לוקח מפה את הקערה. כן. ניתן רשימה.
איזו שאלה? תכף אני אתייחס לעוד למישהו יש איזו שאלה פרקטית לגבי החדרים או התארגנות? כמה פשוט. We come back. Yeah, it was short. We gave her half an hour. She didn't use even 5 minutes. Orit, you owe us 20 minutes now. Okay. Thank you, Orit. I'll just say a few things that are still in... You settle down, yeah? Don't move so much. Just settle. Okay. It's funny, because there's so many people here. Usually, I think I've never been here in the room with more than maybe 40 people. So when we were thinking about 60, it was like... But then at a certain moment, we thought we're going to have 90 people here. So we only have 60. Wow, it's so much room, yeah? It looks so spacious. So I want to ask... it will take me some time to go back speaking in English. For many years, I spoke Dharma only in English, but now it's been quite a while that it was this native language we speak here. What's called? It will take me some time. Okay. For who is it the first time in the nunnery here in Ein Karem? Wow, amazing. So we already done our part. We brought you here. This is amazing. We just have to make sure we don't ruin the experience. Amazing. I think this is a place you should visit at least once in your life. So now you can die. So welcome. For me and for I think many of the people here, this place is not just another place that we hire to make a workshop in. It's almost a home. I've been doing different kind of workshops here for the last, I don't know, maybe 20 years, 15 years, 20 years. I know people who've been doing it here long before that, and the last few years we come here a lot, so it's really like a family. Maybe if you are doing sometime different kind of workshops, you know that it's not so easy to find in our small and crowded country places to do this kind of things. And you can also imagine that the people who own it, which is the Notre Dame order of Christianity, they could have made much more money from selling the land or from making it a tourist place or building something fancy here. So it's really, we really appreciate the fact that we keep it open for us, for people like us. And just think about it, it's a bunch of Jewish people coming to do Buddhist course in a Christian monastery, I mean, from here to world peace is just another little step more to go. So I hope you will enjoy the garden, and we will enjoy the room and the place. It's quite an old place. I don't know what they thought about when they planned this hall like this with this huge wall in the middle, but it was planned 250 years ago, so we have nobody to complain to. And I hope we'll manage to see, and if you don't see, move around. most of the time, most of the sessions that will come in the weekend, it will be either Anila or myself, so you don't have to see both of us. Now, some of you see me, some of you see Anila, but we will sit in the middle and you will move so that you can see us. But I'm talking about the monastery, the nunnery, the convent. How would you call it? Convent, a nunnery?
Convent. I think the official name is convent, but it's run by nuns, so it's a nunnery.
It's a nunnery. Okay. So I'm talking about the nunnery because we enjoy being here, but we also treat it with care and as if we come home. Yeah. So not like customers. I'm sure I don't need to say it, but and also just to say that some of the rooms, like I said, some of the rooms are 200 years old, including the pipes and everything, and sometimes things break down. So whatever is manageable, work with it, and if it's not, write to Orit. Maybe it's also good to say which room you are in. So if it 24. So if the pipe breaks down in the middle of the night, you know where to find the plumber. I'll say something about silence, okay? We were actually kind of thinking about it before because the topic that we came here to discuss might be quite heavy. It doesn't have to be, but might be quite heavy. And sometimes it is good to have an opportunity to talk and discuss. But 60 people in a small room like this, talking and discussing things might blow our minds and heads. So we went for the silence, and I think we will really appreciate if you cooperate with this. And I think it will create a space where things can kind of slowly sink in, and we have time between the sessions to digest and to think about it. And so I really, from now until after lunch break on Saturday, when we will start to come out slowly from the silence, let's really try to keep it quiet, to keep it silent. We're, like I said, a lot of people, so even if we just whisper, it becomes really noisy. So just allow yourself to enjoy. It's less than, I don't know how many hours it is, 60 hours, whatever, of just being with ourselves, quietly keeping it. And having said that, and probably we'll say more about it later, silence doesn't mean that you have to deal with whatever you're dealing on your own. Okay, so we're here to talk about dying and death, and that might touch things in your heart. And if you feel that you need to talk about it, please do write us a message, either to Anila or to myself, and we'll set a time, we go somewhere quiet, and we talk. And you don't have to reach the edge of losing your mind, or if you want to talk, and if it's connected to the topic, not just bringing some issues or whatever that have nothing to do with what's going on, write us a note. Okay? So the silence is between us. If you need our attention, please let us know, and we'll be there for you. I remember that I had something more, but now I don't remember. Okay. No questions? Nothing? Now I'm just kind of looking. Everybody's kind of comfortably sitting. You're okay? We do have another room. When we prepared for 90 people, we prepared another room, and there is a screen there with us showing there. So if at any moment you feel like this room or wherever you sit is not comfortable or too crowded, you can go in that room. There are very comfortable sofas there, and you can watch us on the screen for one session, kind of relax if it helps you. And if not, just be comfortable. We don't have more cushions here, so we'll have to, unless there are any more in the bags, but I'm guessing there are not so many left, so we'll have to do with what we have. Okay. So I guess it's you now. Uh-huh.
Thank you. So I think we have to talk about precepts, isn't it? Or what?
Yeah,
that's the idea. Okay, so when we planned this course, which is 2 years ago, I think, it should have happened last year, but then because the war had just started, it couldn't happen, so then it was just postponed. So also, when something like this happens, don't cancel, just postpone. Then you leave the door open that it can still happen. And then when I looked at the date, the thing is, since quite a few years, every full moon and every new moon, with a small group, like I have 50 people on the mailing list, and usually it's 2-3 participating, but it's okay. I ask every time, I say, look, shall I maybe not take you off the list for taking these vows, full moon and new moon? And then they answer, no, please let me on the list, because then I can rejoice that you were taking precepts, which is a very, very, actually it's a very joyful Buddhist practice. All you have to do is being happy that somebody else is doing something good. They say it's a very important practice. It's a training, and it's great antidote for jealousy, of course, or, poor me, oh, I wish I could, but I can't, or something like this. And they say you can even do it lying down. So, because usually one takes it before the sun comes up. But because there's people from England sometimes participating, some from Europe and some from Israel, it's a bit difficult, because if we do it when here the sun gets up, it's like 4 o'clock in the morning in England. So we decided to do it 6 o'clock in Europe, and then it's 7 o'clock here and 5 in England, and this seems to work for most of them. So why we do this? One thing is that Buddhism says a lot of things that one can not prove, maybe scientifically. But still it seems to make some sense, because doing these very specific virtuous things, if a big group is doing it, it's totally different than if just one is doing it. I think we can agree on that. I mean, they've done scientific, like groups of people meditating, and then the criminal rate went down. I mean, that's what the newspaper says. I don't know if it's true or if it's not true, but definitely for the people who participate, it is easier. You might have noticed it. Some of you might have a regular so-called spiritual practice where you set aside some time to do certain things. I doubt very much that nor me, maybe Boaz, I don't know, but definitely not me, nor any of you would have spent, if you wouldn't be here, so many hours sitting, listening, thinking, about whatever. It can be death, it can be liberation, enlightenment, negative emotions, bodhicitta, whatever. When we are alone, unless you really decide you go into a retreat, and even then it's quite difficult, at least for me, to be very disciplined. But in a group, it's very easy, isn't it? And these people also, because I said, okay, do you really want to continue with these precepts? And they said, yes, please, because alone I don't take them. So even though one can take them alone quite easily. So it has to do with actions that we have created in the past. And that's called karma, right? Everybody knows. Yeah, kind of everybody's nodding. It's very difficult to know karma. So this is also a little bit like based on trust that it is so. So whatever we do, with body, speech, mind, it leaves an imprint on the mind. And then according to whether it's virtuous or not virtuous, beneficial, not beneficial, I quite like the word skillful or unskillful. Skillful actions lead to happiness. Not so much for the other maybe, but definitely for the one who is doing the action. Unskillful actions lead to suffering, and that's why sometimes they're called negative. Not because the action itself is negative, because it leads to something that we don't want. It's kind of as simple as that. But whatever action leaves some kind of potential residue, and virtuous or skillful actions can be done, by the way, in Buddhism in a very easy way, by abstaining consciously from doing something unskillful, like killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, harsh words, divisive speech, gossip, then covetousness, ill will, and wrong views. So these are this the list of the 10. And very often we make the mistake, we just see the action. But there's so much more to it. There's the attitude, the situation, in what state you are, in what state the other person is. So it's very complex, it's very complicated. It's not black and white, you know. So whenever we decide, like there's a mosquito, and I have maybe an instinct, as many of us have, but these instincts are not instinctive, they are trained. And one can eliminate them. Like 30 years ago, mosquito sits down on my arm without even thinking. With thinking, I would go very carefully, you know, not to disturb it so that I would really get it, and then be very happy. So that's a negative action of killing. Totally, using my intelligence to kill that small thing here. Now then, you know, taking vows, of course, as a nun, I have vows, not just full moon and new moon, but like all the time, and also lay people, they do take lay precepts or lay vows. By the way, precepts, vows is kind of the same thing. And so now I couldn't even kill it even if I wanted to. So the same way as before I did it very mindlessly, now almost mindlessly, I don't need to think, oh no, you shouldn't kill it, you have a vow. It's just like, don't even have to think no anymore. So, but if, you know, for other unskillful actions, if we feel an instinct wanting to do it, and then we say no because we have decided that we have an ethical standard or values, and this is kind of, in a way, it's very personal. It's not the Buddha who comes up with the list, you know, this, you should, or the 10 Commandments or whatever. It is our own mind who is creating these potentials, because if we would get killed, we wouldn't be happy. If somebody steals from us, we're not happy. So even though maybe, you know, our mind, by doing one of these actions, can be happy about having succeeded, but still underneath, what the mind, when it's in a very calm and an open state, understands that this is not a skillful action. Yeah, and so this is how we create virtuous or skillful actions, which then result in happiness, or unskillful actions which result in suffering, something that we wouldn't choose if we would have a choice. And I'm pretty sure, you know, many of us, we encounter situations that if we would have a choice, we wouldn't choose that we have to make choices which are so difficult to make, especially at the moment here in this country. So, but there is a way of purifying imprints or potentials, karmic potentials that have not ripened yet. If something has already ripened, you can't purify it. I mean, you know, if you are reborn, if you're born with, I don't know, with only 4 fingers, you can take as many vows as you want. The finger will not grow, probably. Otherwise, if it would, Buddhism would be much more popular. So taking vows is like, or taking precepts, and the good thing is only for 24 hours, is like consciously abstaining from these 10, or in this case it's 8, actions consciously, even if you don't think of it, they kind of purify whatever we have already created. So that's one good thing. And the other thing is it makes us live the day really aware and really taking care of body, speech, and mind. So if we are in silence, already one vow can be kept without any problems, is lying. So if you're not talking. And also, you know what I always say, the advantage of being silent, you can relax. You don't have to be anybody special, very intelligent, always giving a right view, you know, proving to others that maybe my view is better than your view. We don't have to go into these things. You can just be. You can still go around think, wow, I'm so much more intelligent than all these other guys. Maybe true, maybe not true, but you don't have to prove it. Isn't that wonderful? Otherwise, you always have to prove it. So that's that. So this is why, and also, so full moon, new moon, one is doing a lot of also pujas and things like that, because it is said, also in Hinduism, is said that the positive energy that comes from doing virtuous or skillful actions is stronger, kind of gives more result, or bigger result, stronger result. And since we are very result-oriented, aren't we? So then why not do something that is easy to do and will bring a big result, but the big result, when it comes, we might not remember, because it might be in a future life. So this we don't know. But in general, you know, consciously taking vows, taking precepts in the evening, even though your stomach is empty, because this is one of the vows, not to eat after lunch, you're usually quite happy. And you can, Boaz was, you know, saying thank you and being grateful and this and that. And then we can rejoice in something that we usually don't rejoice about, is not having harmed anybody today. You know, so not having harmed anybody today and not having created negative or like unskillful potentials that will result in future suffering for ourselves. You know, so really we can go, wow, well done. So that's another advantage of doing these things. But it has to be totally voluntarily, so I'll tell you what these precepts are. So of course, in the morning we will have to go through a certain ritual, because just last evening we were talking about it with the French group that we do on Zoom, and somebody said, I try to do today as if I have taken vows, but it's so much more difficult not to eat if I haven't taken the vows in the morning. So not kill, so it's 8, okay? In order to take them, we will do some kind of Buddhist ceremony, like going for refuge, doing the 7 limbs, offering a mandala. If you're not Buddhist, you don't have to understand. You don't have to say these words. It's totally okay. But what is important is that you'd say very consciously, no matter if you have a religion, if you don't have a religion, today, these 24 hours from sunrise to the next morning sunrise, I will not kill voluntarily. Like, you know, mosquito or whatever, because here also, even you have a lot of insects in your room, you can just tell somebody, you don't have to take care of them. Because sometimes we do have to kill insects when it's really infested in the house, because they just multiply. It's still a negative action, but don't take precepts that day when you have to do it. Anyway, so it's like not to kill, not to take what is not being given. So I guess the dining room, tea, coffee corner, or whatever you call it, I guess whatever is there is okay. If you share the room with somebody and she has a shampoo that you would like to try it out, well, the two of us with, and you also, is not important, but people with a lot of hair, beautiful hair, and then there's this shampoo, wow, I always wanted to try it out. You can, but you need to ask permission from this other person. by writing, exactly as Boaz is saying, or just, this, can I do something like that? Or by writing is better. It takes much less energy to write than to use sign language. So stealing, like meaning taking what has not been given, then lying, that is being taken care of. No sexual conduct, so that also includes masturbation and things like that. So anyway, if you're in a room with somebody else, I think it's quite okay. Also, people my age, that's the good thing about my age. It's like you don't need it anymore. You don't want it anymore. It's like it's fantastic, peaceful. So no sexual contact, like the vow usually is no sexual misconduct. This case, it's for 24 hours, no sexual conduct. Then probably the most difficult for us, and the one that really kind of is only eating one meal a day. If you take precepts like just for full moon, if you take it over a month, then you can have breakfast. But if it's only one day, then it's like only lunch. And that for us is the most difficult thing. And I always think, I'm always hungry in the evening, most of the time. Then I usually take something special from Switzerland, which is called Offermaltin. I forgot it in Tel Aviv. So the attachment to that is not big enough to not forget it. So I was quite happy that I forgot it. I did like, oh yeah, okay, you'll manage. To see this, this fear that we have, that we will go like, oh, what will happen if I can't eat, if I'm hungry, and all this, amazing. Yeah, so this also, when as you get older or as you go towards death and dying, you might not be able to eat anymore. And my grandmother had this. She had cancer in the tube that goes down here. So she had all these fantasies of food and tastes and all this, but she couldn't. Whatever she tried to put in her mouth, it immediately turned to fire. So by taking these vows regularly and not eating in the evening, even though you have all these fantasies, what you want to eat and all this, and not to having to act it out, it might calm down with time, which is a great advantage. Also, whatever we don't put in our body, we can think somebody else can enjoy it. But because whatever I swallow, it's like it turns pee-pee caca and, well, maybe some flies or I don't know, but nobody else can enjoy it. So we offer it to the universe. Like the universe, global warming and all this, as we know, is suffering. So we think, okay, today this is my share of not taking from Mother Earth, evening and morning. Yeah, so that's one thing. Then other vows are more easy to keep, like one of them is, and it has to do with India, maybe this, I don't know if the carpet is too nice, not to sit on high and expensive beds or chairs. So, but since it's not mine, with arrogance. And me, I prefer to sit on the ground, but it's better for you because then you can see us. This is why we're sitting up here, not because, oh wow, we're so great. I don't know about you, but no. Yes, okay, Boaz, yes. So like that, not to sit on or sleep on expensive beds and seats or chairs. Has to do with noble people, who were sitting on like animal skins and things like that. What else? Oh, not to sing and not to dance. And I think today singing and dancing is kind of okay. I think we're not so attached to it, but I usually include not to watch anything like entertainment on the internet, or not to use the phone on, it's just because I don't know anything else to do. And so I usually include that for me, but that the vow is not to sing and not to dance. And not to play music, basically, also, like you playing music with an instrument. There's nothing wrong with it, but imagine if everybody would have come here, it's full moon tomorrow, thinking, oh, full moon, party, brings their ghetto blaster or their guitar, and then, when the moon comes up, starts to sing and dance in the garden, that would be disturbing. So this is why you can any other day. It's not a sin, okay? Also, sex is not a sin. It's nothing dirty or anything like that. But just for one day to abstain from it is also kind of okay, I think. What else do we have? Not to wear jewelry and perfumes. So whatever you're wearing anyway, earrings where you have holes and all this, just leave them in, that's fine. But whatever you can take off, try to take it off. Because it's also taking these vows is working with our attachments. And then sometimes we see with what we identify that we can't, we might wear something, people don't even notice it. But then people come to ask me and say, oh, this is a present from my grandma. She would be so upset if I take it off. Can I leave it on? Well, if you want, but why not take it off? Because we only see our attachments once we can't get it or once we don't have it. And attachment, and since this is a course on death, but Boaz and I, we agreed we will talk about life also, not just about death. So then also, but at the time of death, attachment is one of the biggest, is even stronger than anger, by the way, to be able to go peacefully. So if we can work with it already now and be without it and it's still okay, or see the attachment or the desire coming up and calm yourself down. Okay, tomorrow you can wear all the jewelry and all the perfume. But perfume also in places like this, it's a room that is, well, the windows are open, but imagine everybody wearing these very strong perfumes. Have you ever gone into an elevator like in the morning? Oh, it's like, but everybody is very, wow, the thing is our senses get used to these smells and we ourselves, we don't smell it anymore because we get used to it. So then also, so deodorant, soap, all this is perfectly okay. To have everything? Gosh, I don't know. Okay, so killing, stealing, sexual conduct, lying, only eating one meal a day, jewelry and perfume, singing and dancing, and no high or expensive beds and seats. Those are these 8 vows or precepts. You abstain from doing them. They need to be taken voluntarily. Nobody can force you. You need to understand what you're doing. When we say, from now until tomorrow sunrise, I will not kill, steal, There's like a text that you will have tomorrow. Also, you don't even have to say one word from the text, but in your mind you think, yes, I am taking these vows. In the Buddhist case, from the Buddha. In your case, I would say you can take another object. If the Buddha seems that, it's disrespectful to your own religion, tradition, or whatever you feel, the Buddha doesn't mind giving you these precepts, even if you're not a Buddhist, that's fine also. So in general, for these vows to be very effective, they have to be taken, they have to be given by somebody to you. Yeah, so it's usually the Dalai Lama sometimes gives precepts. Lama Zopa Rinpoche gave a lot of precepts. Geshe Tsering and Tushita, I don't know if you remember in the morning. Yeah, right, it was Lama Yeshe's half-brother. Or whatever Rinpoche was there. And there is taking precepts on YouTube that Lama Zopa is not around anymore in this body. You might know that you will get the transmission. But it's also okay not to have the transmission, but then at one point, maybe here in Israel, a little bit difficult, but if, the next Rinpoche comes and then, but I asked, Serkong Rinpoche was just in Switzerland in August, and we also had people who had never received the transmission. So sometimes people ask me, they say, can't you give the transmission? I say, no, because I'm not realized. It needs to be, for you to get the blessing, it needs to be somebody who is realized, and I'm not. Maybe in a few lifetimes, but for the moment, I prefer not. I take them with you. We take them together as a group, but I'm not like, usually when you get to transmission, whoever is here says the words and then you repeat. So I asked Serkong Rinpoche if he could give the transmission to the group. He said no, he prefers not, because also these people, when you take vows from a living, ordinary, kind of so-called ordinary being, you kind of become their disciple. And that's, I'm not a teacher, and I don't have disciples, I don't have students. So it's like I'm just ordinary. And so like that, a little bit. If somebody comes and gives precepts and you find it beneficial, you can, if you want, you can give me your email or give the email to Orit, and then she can maybe make a list. And I add you to those 50 people who are already on the list, and you get an email every time, one day before the new moon and one day before the full moon, and also on these 4 very powerful Buddhist days. And then if you want to participate, you can. If you don't want to participate, you don't have to. So it's totally up to you. Usually I share the text on the screen. We take precepts together. And then, we do the prostrations to the 35 confession Buddhas. But I think this time for here, it would be pushing it a bit too far. We don't want to totally, or I don't want to totally overwhelm you with this. So when I saw that this precept is, it's full moon during the course, so I asked Boaz, I said, can I have a room to myself where I can take the precepts with the people who usually take them? And he said, why don't we present it to the group? Maybe some of you will want to take precepts. So we let you think about this for 2 minutes. And unless you have questions, and then we need to know because of the kitchen, because otherwise they prepare too much food. Do you have questions? Yes. Oh, you need to speak loud, because not only my brain is going soft and forget everything, but also I can't hear well. And I'm lucky enough that all the hearing machines don't work, because the way my ear is gone, it's gone.
I was wondering, does it have to be the whole package?
What is it that you would not want to take? Huh? Okay, the chair, don't worry, they don't count. You can sit on the chair, they're not, expensive, noble, would bring $2 million or something like that. You can keep sitting on those chairs, and we can keep sitting on that bed here also. So that's okay.
Don't stand on it, just sit.
Yeah. Good. And then you look what you do. You see what I usually do, because we do Nunes, and then it's like the second day, it goes for 2 weeks, which is did in Haifa. You don't eat, that's okay. You don't drink, that's bad. And you make lots of prostrations, and also you don't talk. The talking is okay. And then you have all not so much anymore. It took me a long time not to get angry. Like when the basic needs get not fulfilled, I would, and good thing I was in silence, So all this stuff would come up, and I could have killed somebody sometimes of the group doing these. You did Nunes with us, didn't you? Yeah. So it's like, and then after a while, because I like the practice very much, it's a practice with Chenresik, I went to see my teacher and I said, I think I'm doing something wrong here. This is a practice on compassion, and all I get is anger. And I'm really angry on these non-speaking and non-drinking and non-eating days. And he laughed and laughed. And he said, wow, fantastic, the practice works. You see, when we have these imprints, it's also tendencies and habits. And by not following Just having the thoughts is no problem. But by not following, we're not creating more tendencies, and we exhaust the potentials to have more tendencies. Okay? So he said, this is really good because you're in silence, your anger is coming up, you're in a safe environment, you can look at it, because when you don't act out your anger, it just fizzles out after a while. So thinking about food is okay. But now, having said this, because I said that, well, I don't like to talk about this in the group, because then people, oh, okay, I take precepts, but not the eating one. But for us, as I'm saying, it's the eating one which is the most difficult to keep, because all the others we keep pretty spontaneously, isn't it? So it's also, it gives you the most merit. Yeah, it gives you the most positive amount of positive karma if you have to make an effort of keeping a vow, right? But you could, you could only take 7, especially if you have to take medicines, or if you are, like because of physical conditions that you would faint or something like that. Now, then, whether this is just an excuse or whether it is really somehow, how should I say, it's really necessary, it's your mind who is creating the karma. Whether you make believe to me that you need it, but inside it's not true, for me it doesn't have any effect. It's okay. Do you see what I mean? But it says in the King of Concentration Sutra, it says, in degenerate times, which is now, just the taking of one vow is kind of more meritorious than making offerings to, as many Buddhas as sand grains in the river Ganges, or in 1 billion the river Ganges, or whatever. So it's very powerful, it's very purifying. And I think we need it at the moment. And whenever we take precepts, we purify our karma to be harmed also, right? So when it will ripen, this, again, I don't know. But the thing is, then as always, we think also, this is my contribution to the peace and happiness in this world. Because if I don't have karma to be the victim, nobody will have to aggress me. Well, the aggressor then again becomes the victim. So again, whether this really has an effect on whatever, I don't know. But what I know is that it doesn't harm anybody if I take precepts. Yeah. So, okay. Yeah, you want a microphone?
Okay. Can we take it off? I just want to add one more angle, which I think will be quite significant at that moment. The precepts are called the 8 Mahayana precepts. So we won't go too much into this concept, what the word Mahayana means. For many of us, we know, but some maybe not. But the basic idea is that I'm not doing it only for myself. I'm doing it for the welfare of everybody. And for me, I don't know how much it's like this comes in the text or in the teachings, but it's always been, since I got to know this practice, that it's a day where I can put myself in the place of other people, not to talk about other living beings that maybe don't have what to eat today, that maybe don't have a comfortable bed to lie on, that maybe their life is not full of singing and dancing. Just to take one day, once in a while, to connect with the fact that not everybody share this. And in our own experience in the last year and more, we have a group of people that we all pray for every day. It's the ones who are kidnapped, that are חטופות והחטופים. But there are many others in maybe a similar situation. But For me, taking the precepts in these days is one day where I say, okay, I'm connecting heart to heart. Maybe I'll be hungry. Maybe I will be really hungry tomorrow evening. And it's fine. There are some people in the world that are really hungry, not just for one day. And all I have to know is that I have to survive this evening, wait until breakfast, and I'll eat 3 times more. You know, it's like, and many people are hungry and they don't know that breakfast is awaiting them. So it's my opportunity to connect heart to heart. At the moment is with these people that we're so longing and praying for them and hoping they'll come back. And I hope they're not hungry, but they probably are. But it's many more people around the world that have nothing to eat. And for them, many people that don't sleep in comfortable beds, and people who are, I would suggest that anyone who is open for that, for that kind of experience as well. It's not really just for me. And I'm not deciding whether to take the precepts or not, trying to think, can I do it without feeling any discomfort? No, it's actually fine if I'll be uncomfortable. Maybe if you don't think it's a big thing, then you don't have to do it, But if you think, wow, can I really survive? I'm not talking about people with sickness, like Anila said. Can I really survive from, having nice, big, healthy lunch until next breakfast? If you're not sure about it, maybe it's a good reason to take it. Yeah, you had a question. No problem drinking. Anila was talking about specific practice called nyune. That is, there's no. As long as we are here, so we don't go and drink juice full of of the fruit, of the pulp and everything. No smoothies, no milkshakes, not putting your dinner in the blender and then just drinking it, but having water, tea, even coffee, and even coffee if you really have to. I know David has to, so you said you'll have headache. What? Little milk.
But just a little, not full milk.
Okay.
So just to make sure that I understand,
Yeah.
because it's in English, we're talking about not eating from today
till let me do I'll just very brief in Hebrew, so we are clear also on anyone's. הנדרים, אוקיי? אחרי כל ההסבר, רגע אני אהיה מאוד, מה בעצם אנחנו עושים? אנחנו מדברים על זה שמחר זה ירח מלא, וזו הזדמנות לעשות את הטקס הזה של הנדרים. לא תכננו, אבל ככה יצא. את הנדרים האלה, את הסט נדרים הזה, שנקראים 8 נדרי המעיינה, לוקחים בדרך כלל מזריחה עד זריחה. אנחנו נעשה את זה קצת אחרי הזריחה, לא נורא. מ7 עד הזריחה של מחרת בבוקר, והנדרים הם 8, 4 הראשונים הם לא להרוג, מסתדרים עם זה ל-24 שעות, לא לגנוב, לא לשקר, שזה בדרך כלל נדר מאוד מאתגר, אבל אנחנו בשתיקה, אז יותר קל לנו, ולהימנע מכל פעילות מינית, בניגוד לנדר הקבוע של נזירים, או שלנו, של נזירים, זה תמיד הנדר, של lay people, הנדר הוא להימנע מפגיעה מינית, פה אנחנו משאירים כל התנהגות מינית שהיא, והתנאים של ריטריט אמור להיות גם חלק לא מסובך מדי, ואז יש לנו עוד 4 נדרים, אני רגע אשאיר את האוכל לסוף, אז זה לא לשבת על כס המלכות, כן, על איזה כיסאות מפוארים או מיטות מפונפנות או דברים כאלה, להניח בצד ליום אחד איפור כבד, תכשיטים, בשמים, כל מה שכזה, לא הדברים הבייסיק, אלא הדברים שהם יותר מזה, להימנע משירים וריקודים, גם בתוך הריטריט זה לא עניין, והעניין בדרך כלל העיקרי זה האוכל, ובעצם כל מה שהנדרים אומרים זה ליום אחד לעשות את מה שהיה נהוג בחייו של נזיר בכל מקום, אז להיות נזיר במובן הזה ליום אחד, שזה לאכול ארוחה אחת ביום. נזירים היו אוכלים פעם אחת ביום ארוחה מתישהו לפני הצהריים, אז זה הנדר, לאכול ארוחה אחת ביום. אז מחר מי שיבחר לקחת נדרים לא אוכל ארוחת בוקר, אנחנו נעשה את הטקס פה בבוקר, ב7 בבוקר, 7:15, אחרי זה יתפנה מלא זמן, כן? אז לא הולכים לאכול ארוחת בוקר, הולכים לאכול ארוחת צהריים, יוצאת מחר טיפה אחרי, כן, יוצאת ב12:30, זה בסדר. וברגע שסיימנו את הארוחה, כן, ברגע סיימנו, לקחתם מנה ראשונה, מנה שנייה, מנה שלישית, מנה רביעית, החלטתם שזהו, ואז קינוח ראשון, קינוח שני, קינוח שלישי, סיימתם גם אותו, זהו. אז אף אחד לא סופר לכם, ואף אחד לא אומר לכם, ואתם יכולים להמשיך את ארוחת הצהריים עד למחרת בבוקר, אם אתם ממש רוצים, אבל אם לא, אז ברגע שהארוחה הסתיימה, זהו. ומאחרי הרגע הזה אנחנו לא אוכלים יותר, לא בוטן, לא פרי, לא זה, פשוט לא אוכלים עד למחרת, אחרי הזריחה, או אם תרצו, עד מחרת בארוחת בוקר. אין שום בעיה לשתות, כמו שאמרנו, לא מילקשק ולא מיץ זה, אבל אין שום בעיה לשתות חופשי, וגם את התה והקפה שאתם רגילים. What about smoking? Nobody is smoking here, so no problem. Nobody is smoking, the nunnery, no smoking.
Because everybody who smokes, you all know that it's expensive and it's not good and this and that. So then being able to abstain from it for 24 hours, maybe you were able to extend it afterwards. It needs a bit of courage, you know, and you are courageous people, aren't you? You Israelis, as far as I know you. Yeah, right. You are usually very courageous and yeah. So, and then the good thing is like the breakfast next morning or lunch is really delicious. You know, this is it. We're trying to find pleasure, right, in our food. We forget what food is all about. Food is to keep us alive, to nourish the body. It's not to create a happy mind. But still, we don't give up. We're kind of new recipes and new this and new that, and more refined and this and that. We become more and more dependent on it. We become more and more blasé, so that, you know, like simple food is not good enough anymore. It has to be very special and this and that. And while doing that, we destroy the planet, isn't it? Because we take far too much. So also, it kind of, with time, if you take these vows over like a longer period, like year, 2, or even for the rest of your life, full moon, new moon, all of a sudden, all the food becomes really delicious. It doesn't matter what it is. I remember at one point also somebody asked me, how was the food? And then somebody else said, don't ask her, she likes everything. So it's because I said it was delicious. So it's like, yeah. So then we don't need anymore. We get rid of that karma or these habits that we have. It has to be special. Everything becomes nourishment for the body, like medicine for the body. So it has a lot of advantages. Actually, I think in the text that we printed out, it says all the advantages, which sound a bit again, yeah. Yeah. So anyway, it's like the advantages are great, but it can be that they only ripen in the next life. This we don't know. We have more questions.
You do it tomorrow and you read the advantages the day after.
Okay.
So what we do now is actually we'll take a count because we want to tell the kitchen.
No, there's one other big advantage. Those who take precepts can go first tomorrow for lunch. The others have to wait.
Nothing will happen if you raise your hand now that you're going to take the precepts and you have a second thought about it more and you're not going to take it. It's okay, but just that we have more or less the number. So, Orit, will you help me to count? Karni, Orit will count this side, Karni will count that side. Whoever thinks of taking the precept tomorrow, please raise your hand and keep it up until we counted so we can tell the kitchen. אל תריבו עליו. Okay? Okay, אפשר להוריד. 13 and 14, 27, and including us. Okay, so you know what to tell the... Okay. 27. Half. You did a good job selling it. You get half of the food that we saved. You will go to you because you can give it to the.
It's always good, when you feel hungry, to really think like this. Whatever I'm not eating, somebody else can eat. Even if it's just maybe ants or insects or whatever, if it gets thrown away. But usually it doesn't get thrown away if we know. Yeah, so then it's like a big present for the Mother Earth and for others. And makes you stronger, it makes you more courageous also. And to see how dependent we are, how weak we have become because of having all this wonderful food. When you asked this question, I thought, wow, what if we now tell them, sorry, the whole weekend, no food, only drinks. What would, to see the fear that comes up and how we react, right? And as Boaz was saying, we have to think about the hostages also that are still being kept. We don't know how they are being fed, but not only the hostages, also people in Gaza, people in Sudan, that nobody talks about, and animals also who cannot just go to the fridge and open the fridge. And also us. You see, we have this, we're very privileged, and we have this kind of totally wrong kind of certitude? No. We're so sure that we will have access to food until we die. We're so sure. How can we be sure? And then when you train already now, one thing is you purify that karma. At one point I was in Tushita, and the door that I had, it was never locked, it was always open, and I had the basket with fruits just there, and I was kind of sitting on the floor, and I think I was even explaining precepts, I can't remember, but I see the one hand coming in like this monkey and grabbing the biggest mango. And I was about to jump on him like a goalkeeper in football club, And all of a sudden I thought, hey, what are you doing? This guy has the karma to get food without any difficulty, so leave it to him. So it was quite amazing. I thought, a monkey who has taken precepts before. That was quite amazing. It was very gently just coming in and, the monkeys sometimes they created big havoc in your room, but this one, very skilled, taking it.
So I hope you close your room if you can before the monkeys go.
Yeah, right. Do you have any more questions about this? It's at 7:15. We will meet.
So we'll talk about what's going on in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's happening now?
So what I'm thinking happening now, we'll change it a little bit. I think we'll take the break now to have our own dinner. We've been here for more than an hour and a half. We'll take the dinner break, which is anyway what you brought from home. If anybody didn't bring any food, we'll have something for you here. It's just for those who didn't bring enough. You find yourself hungry, you're going to take precept tomorrow, you want to eat more today. So there's just very little, so that, not for everyone, but if you want, you can go. There's also a microwave, microgal, both in this coffee room and in the one in the main building. So if you brought something and you want to heat it a little bit, you can use it. So let's take, now it's 6:40 almost. Let's meet here again at 8 o'clock. So we have 1 hour and 20 minutes. It's a long time. You can enjoy the evening coolness, walk around. I remind you that we're already in silence. So we go into it, we go out quietly. Okay, so who is doing the bell today? Great, so 5 to 8. Starting there, maybe 7 to 8, coming here. So when you hear the bell, you just come here. You're not waiting to doing other things. Just come at 8 o'clock. We'll have a little bit more talk about what we're actually doing here, not the topic of the weekend, and then we'll have a little bit of evening practice. Bon appetit. Now I'm sure you're going to enjoy your food much more after all this talk. Thank you.
Anyway, just about enjoying food, do you know it's your duty to enjoy the food. If you imagine how much work and effort goes into growing vegetables and wheat to make bread and all this in the sun here and whatever, and very little paid, and then you don't enjoy it, this is really cruel. This is like, preparing a meal for somebody, and you put so much effort into it, and they just gobble it down, and you ask, well, did you like? Yeah, okay. So this is why you have to enjoy your food out of gratitude, again, for the people, for all the beings who are involved in bringing this food about. Okay? So please enjoy.